Hello, YTPC. Gosh, was Stuart pipe up north? I didn't get out my second video last week, but well, here we are. Got a Tuesday video coming up right here. Codger and a corn cob and tobacco tin Tuesday. I think I'm going to start out, do a VR for Jess Piping. He hit his magical 626 subscriber count. He asked for comments or VRs about something on our bucket list that we haven't done yet. I didn't have to think too long about it. I got a lot of things on the bucket list that I haven't done yet, but I've always been a car guy. I know Jess has been more of a motorcycle guy. I've had a couple of motorcycles in my day, but they've all just been basically commuter bikes. Nothing too special. But say the cars, I always like to build hot rods and stuff like that. So I guess when I was 12 years old, my uncle gave me an old car that he'd realized that he was never going to do anything with, and it had been sitting in my grandma's barn ever since I can remember. So he gave it to me, and he said, if you can get it done by the time you graduate, graduate high school or get my driver's license? I don't know, one or the other, that I could have it. So I did that. I fixed it up, put a big motor in it, and gave it a nice paint job, and redid the whole suspension and stuff, and I basically had it done by the time I graduated. Good enough where he wasn't going to say, oh, I'm taking it back now. And then, so that's a bucket list thing that I had that I kind of checked off early. And another one, car related, was racing cars. Got my first race car when I didn't have my driver's license yet. I think I was 15. Guy in town was racing one, and he'd retired it and moved on to a different class or something, and he basically gave me the rolling chassis for scrap price. So put a motor in it and went racing. And then I raced that one for 1 or 2 years, and then the later high school years I was a little bit bigger into football, kind of stepped back for a while. And then when I got into college, I got another modified, it was, class that I ran for a couple of years. So building a few cars, that was kind of a bucket list thing that's already been taken care of. But I got one thing car related that's not constructive but very destructive that's on the bucket list, and that's to run in a demolition derby. Came close to actually building a derby car a few times, but never got to it. And at this point, I don't know if my body could handle it. I had a guy a while back kind of offer to let me drive and help me build one, but I kind of passed on it just because some of those hits are pretty hard, and I don't know how my body would handle it anymore. If I was in better shape, yeah, probably, but I just think it'd be fun to run in a demolition derby, but I don't know, it's just, say it's still on the bucket list, but I don't know, it's, logic is overtaking me. So anyway, we'll get that VR start out here. So congratulations, Jess, on your magical 626 subscriber count, and I'm sure you're going to be getting many more. So, on to our codger and a corn cob and Tool Time Tuesday portion of the program. My cob, Missouri Meerschaum Diplomat bent apple. And in it, got some half and half. I've always kind of liked the half and half. I haven't had it since I did the review, or is it up there? The half and half tin right about there. I think that was over a month ago when I did the review on that. I wouldn't call it a review, but whatever you want to call it. And this is still as I've said other times, this is the very first pouch tobacco I bought. This and a Captain Black Gold I bought at the same time. And as it's getting old and dried out, I think this is one that's probably a little bit better when it's fresh. I've only got a couple of bowls left in that pouch, and then I've got a fresh pouch waiting to get cracked open. Mittens here, he's been feeling a little neglected. I've been gone all weekend. I don't know how many miles did I put on. Almost 700 miles last weekend, just running everywhere. And went down and helped Mom and Dad move the last few things off of the outdoor stuff, which, going back to the cars, was the old car that I drove in high school was one of the things that got moved. Okay, Mittens, you can get down now. You're being annoying. That old 78 Monte Carlo. Drove it all through high school, a little bit in college. I don't remember why I quit driving it, but I think there were some brake issues that just, for whatever reason, never got around to fixing. And grew up, I got 3 brothers. I'm the oldest, and the youngest one is 5 years younger than me, so there was plenty of cars to drive around. So I just used one of the other cars for a while, and it just kind of got forgotten about. And so sat in the grove at Mom and Dad's farm from, I think, 1995 is when we parked it. Because that's when I met my wife, was in 1995. I don't think she ever rode in it, or even saw it for that matter. As you can imagine, 30 years sitting outdoors in a grove didn't do it any favors, but I think there's enough left that it's still restorable. It's going to be a project when and if I ever get to it, but showed pictures of it to my kids as they were getting old enough to have cars of their own, and asked any of them if they wanted it to drive, but none of them were really into it. They want more practical cars than a 40-some-year-old rear-wheel drive thing that slides all over the place in the snow. Which, when I was 17 years old, I thought that was fun. down there. There's not too much left in here. I just smoked it for a few minutes before I turned the camera on. So, well, the other half of our codron of corn, I think I'll call this good. Other half of our codron of corn cob and tobacco tin Tuesday is the tobacco tin. Now, this one is not nearly as pristine as some of them in the collection. And just to refresh people who maybe haven't watched too many of the codron of corn cob and tobacco tin Tuesdays, is when my mom and dad moved off the farm, they kind of downsized a little bit, and my mother gave me her collection of tobacco tins that she started collecting probably in the 1970s. Not a huge collection, a few dozen pieces, but I would say it's a pretty good quality collection for the most part. Several common tins, and this is probably a fairly common tin, but it's old and it's interesting. Got Dills Best. Oh, as you can see, this tin is not in particularly good shape compared to a lot of them. I'd say it's definitely spent some time outside, but it's still got enough where it'll display okay. And it's nice that the front side is better than the back side. And there's enough rust on here, it's really hard to read the description. Yeah, there's enough words that are hard to read that I'm not going to attempt to. Established 1848, the J.G. Dill Company, Richmond, Virginia, USA. I don't know, just by looking at the graphics, I'm guessing probably between turn of the 20th century and 1930, give or take, I don't know. Still got some of the screws that, of course, all these old tobacco tins, they work. Oh wait, is that screws or? It's not regular. It might be like carburetor jets or something in there, but you know, the old tobacco tins, they work great for organization for stuff in the garage back in the day. So yeah, so the Dills name, they quit making tobacco, and I did my obligatory 5-minute research before I started filming, taping, whatever. I guess there's no film or no tape in this, but digitaling sounds kind of stupid, so so yeah, I mean, it was a family-owned business, and I think they finally got bought out by, was it American Tobacco Company in, no, I don't even remember. But it didn't last too long with the American Tobacco Company, and I believe by the 1950s, when pipe smoking was starting to go downhill a little bit, they quit making it. But as many of you are aware, the Dills name does live on. The very same day I bought my pouch of half and half, I bought some pipe cleaners. Look at that, Dills. And yeah, they were started by the same company, same family. And then I got remembering, I got an old pouch of Dills pipe cleaners around here. I dug around and I found this one. I'm not super old, but these are some that I found in a drawer at Mom and Dad's house when we were cleaning stuff out. So it's probably from early to mid 80s, I would guess. 39 cents for 32 of them. I don't know how many are in here. Well, they're probably half gone. But so thought that was kind of interesting. So these new ones, I was looking at the pouch a little bit before I started recording, and as you can see down there, oh, it's not focusing. Made in China. So, oh well, that is what it is. I wonder, are some of the other ones, are they American made, or are they Super Value ones? They don't say on there. They're probably made in China. How about, they don't say. Just kind of looking at some of my other pipe cleaners here. Those are the only ones that are handy. But so yeah, Dills Best. Supposedly it was a predominantly Virginia tobaccos. So being I'm on a little bit of a Virginia kick lately, I may have liked it. But who knows? So anyway, so yeah, I've been, like I say, between Friday afternoon and Sunday night, it was probably over 700 miles I spent behind the wheel, doing the kids stuff, and say then going down to mom and dad's and helping them out, and then driving all over the place while I was down there, you know, running back and forth to places where these cars and stuff were being moved. Because there was some old MGAs from the 50s, old British sports cars. Dad had a few of those that were, there's 4 of them, well 5 of them total. One of them was his brother's, my dad's brother, my uncle, drove back in the 60s. And he got in a wreck with it, and my uncle was always going to fix it back up. And, you know, life got busy and he never got to it, and it sat at my grandma's place for decades. And then finally, you know, they were renting out my grandma's place, and some of the renters, you don't know how well you really trust them, so Dad figured anything of value he better get out of there before, you know, somebody thinks they need a few quick bucks and sells it for whatever they can get for it. So Dad took it, and with the intent on finishing the restoration in honor of his brother. He got a little ways on it, but never got too far. And in the meantime, he started kind of liking those MGAs, and I was kind of liking them too. And so my brother, my dad, and I kind of found these other MGs around the country. Had them shipped to his house, which cost as much to ship them almost as it did to buy these project cars. And the intent with the 5 cars was to make 3 good ones. But getting at the point in life, it's like, I'm never going to get to it. Dad's at the point in his life that he's never going to get to it. And my brother took the one that was my uncle's, because, you know, we didn't want to just get rid of that one. So he's going to eventually get that one restored and back on the road. And the other ones we're going to sell. But in the meantime, we had to get them off the farm. So he's got a bit of temporary place until he can sell them. So if anybody's interested in a very much project MGA, I think they're all from the mid to late 50s, I believe. I mean, no, I'm sure he'll probably be putting them on eBay or something in the coming weeks or months, just to not have to worry about them anymore. But they're definitely project cars. Like I say, 2 of them are definitely beyond the point of being restorable, but there's some good parts on them. And the other 2 are we'll call them ambitious restoration projects. So, and so that was it. And then Dad, when I was in high school, he bought a loader tractor. Because when you live out on the farm, you got to have a loader tractor just for snow removal, if nothing else. And of course, I was dealing with heavy stuff. You need a loader to lift things sometimes. That was the very last thing of the big outdoor stuff that got moved. So there was a neighbor that had a tilt bed truck that helped out and helped us move all the stuff. And say there's, I think, 8 items total that got moved. One at a time, trips to like 10 miles away where they're getting stored for the time being. And one of them was my old Monte Carlo. Brought that to my father-in-law's place. And, so yeah, the last thing was the loader tractor, because we were still using that right up to the end. And he's got a few other things to use it for at the new house. And then he's probably going to sell that too. But yeah, yeah, the house is still standing. I'll bring maybe some of the new subscribers up to date. Mom and Dad sold their house that they've lived in for nearly 50 years on the farm and moved to town, downsized. And the guy that bought it, apparently there's a rich gravel vein running right under the property, so all the buildings are getting tore down, and the house will eventually get tore down too. Yeah, the last time I was there, the barn was still there, but that's no longer there. We're hoping that somebody will be able to move it, because the barn was actually a really nice old barn, built I think in 1937. And unfortunately, they just couldn't they were willing to give it away, but nobody could line up a mover in time, because it was like a 30 by 50 barn, something like that. Just couldn't get any movers lined up in time to get it moved. And so it's kind of sad to see that go. And then the house is it's just too big and too many additions to bother moving. The house was built in, I think, 1878 or something like that, 1874, 1870s sometime. And of course, multiple additions over the decades and centuries. So that'll be coming down. I was almost surprised that it was still there, because I was expecting they were going to have it down to reach the gravel that they needed to before now, but it sounds like might be a couple more weeks yet before they dig into that part of the vein, depending on what they find at other parts of where they're digging. So yeah, a little weird where basically the whole yard and where all the outbuildings were, just a big hole in the ground now, and they're digging gravel out of it. So a little weird. But oh shoot, we're running way long again, and I'm rambling about stuff that we've already talked about in previous videos. All right, well, I think there's a few other things I could probably talk about too, but we're running too long now. And for those of you that did hang out this long, I haven't had a chance to watch hardly any videos in the last week, so I've maybe watched a total of 5 videos in the last week, at least of the pipe related videos. I've watched a few other how-tos on different things, but Mittens is acting weird again. So see if I can get a few last puffs out of this. So anyway, congratulations, Jess. And everybody else, happy codger and a corn cob and Tool Time Tuesday. This is Joshua Stewart, Pipe Up North. Have a good day.